just from an audience perspective, I can definitely see you can find gigs anywhere really in town, from like a room in like a rooftop bar, the second floor of a club, to big concert halls. It's definitely very, very accessible for both the audience and artists to find their way into the industry. I know Night and Day is a really popular like music institution, especially in Manchester, because they provide the stage and the space for artists to showcase their talent, and there are similar institutions like that dotted around the city. I think just having the space and offering them a chance to like show their talent is really important for new artists.
Manchester has always been known for supporting new artists. You can go back to the 60s and you have the Hollies, the Bee Gees, these small venues, all these bands, right through to the Happy Mondays, Oasis, Inspiral Carpets, have performed at places like Band on the Wall. And now what's happening is this is encouraging new places to open. And with the impact of the students growing, it's only going to improve.
A lot of the venues were a lot more filled before the pandemic, and there was always something going on. There was always, like every weekend, small or big gigs to attend, a lot of advertisement for them, and I felt like whether it was indie or house, there was always something for everybody going on at that period of time. And then after the pandemic, I'd say there was definitely less going on. I feel like businesses were really struggling to keep afloat. Not a lot of people wanted to book the gigs, not a lot of people wanted to go to the gigs, and I feel like we was all a lot more spatially aware of people there. And personally, I found myself wanting to go out less just because I didn't want to be that close to people. I was so used to social distancing and whatnot. I was a bit nervous to be back in big groups of people.
The importance is the history. Without history, you don't have the future. And Manchester has been so important from the 60s, the 70s, 80s, 90s, millennium, and now we're coming to the future. But without that history, you wouldn't have the strength of the music scene going forward. And because of this history, it will succeed in going forward.
I'm biased, obviously I'm more from Liverpool, but Manchester can't say it's had a very good music scene from the 60s all the way up to now, to be honest. Obviously the Hollies, I mean, I'm going to say the Beatles were better, but the Hollies obviously stand out from the 60s. You've got the Bee Gees as well there from Manchester, and you've got all the way up to the 80s, 90s with the Rebirth, Oasis, 90s music scene from Manchester. Brilliant. You've got the Manchester disco time, absolutely perfect for Manchester, and even today, massive indie scene in Manchester, which is very good for bands like me who proclaim to do indie music. But yeah, very, very good music scene.
I think smaller venues especially were quite creative with maintaining engagement with people. I know a lot of smaller places that put on Zoom performances and theme nights so that people could be more involved at home across different genres. I know me and my flatmates did an online reggae night.
For the Rebirth, we had to have handled the pandemic in the right way, and the Mayor of Manchester, along with the nighttime economical advisor to the night scene, which includes all the music scene, we had to raise the appropriate money during the pandemic to help these venues survive and bring in the students back into the universities and not all online, to have the people to fill the venues for the growth and the development to take place.
I think venues will just get bigger and bigger in Manchester, specifically because it's just such a hub of music compared to a lot of the UK. Like we've seen the Cork Arena recently, and the AO Arena is just constantly selling out. Even smaller venues are just selling out because people like to come here specifically to listen to music. I hope that there are more artists that emerge, because a lot of it is just massive artists selling out massive arenas. It's very difficult to find new people just randomly.
Well, people seem to enjoy the Zoom raves, so I could actually see virtual gigs having more of a permanent place in the music scene, but personally I think they were so successful because of the conditions of the pandemic, but I'm not sure if it'll ever beat the feeling of, you know, like being in a real show with real people.
Hopefully they like rock music, obviously not being biased, but bands like myself, hopefully they like hearing our sound and hearing sounds of other bands like us. But I'm hoping it gets a lot more diverse, but a lot more focus on the talent of the group rather than the image of the group. That's what I hope for, especially in the Northwest, because there's a lot of bands who do very good music but don't fit the bill for the mainstream, as you'd say. But the talent is there, and hopefully that talent shines through and keeps shining through, which will only be good for music.
I think the Manchester music scene is buzzing. It's always been buzzing.
I do think it's still buzzing, actually, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely still buzzing.
There's a simple answer to that. Sean Ryder is the lead singer of the Happy Mondays. He's a good friend of mine, and he's always said that same sentence: Manchester is buzzing, and Manchester will always be buzzing.